So, I was thinking, guys.
Oh, twice in 1 week?
I know, it was really cranking them out. So, I was thinking about like all these like descriptive terms and everything that we use. Remember when you first started and everybody's talking about like mouthfeel and body and oh, this is thin, this is like a top note, and what the fuck did all that shit mean?
It meant nothing to me.
You also don't know if the other person is talking the same language. No, I mean, not like me. I mean, when you say something, you don't know if the other person is using the term in the same way you're doing it.
Come to find out, I don't think a lot of people are. You know? Yeah, the way we talk about it, I don't think we're all on the same page either.
I think we're pretty close, though.
I'm in a different book.
You're in a different country.
Yeah, but we're talking about books.
Yeah, but the book is in Spanish.
Oh, right, yes.
See, that's what makes it so confusing. If every other page was written, you know, English and then Spanish, hard to follow.
Yeah, mine is a translated book. Yours is a pocket book. And Fokker is an encyclopedia.
Yeah, but written by fucking who? All right, so like, all right, when it comes to describing your recipe, how exactly would you describe the mouthfeel of the recipe?
For me, mouthfeel is everything that is not flavor.
Everything that describes the flavor?
Everything I can say about something I'm vaping that is not flavor related.
That sounds confusing. Explain more.
Fokker, can you help me?
Mouthfeel to me is everything that the recipe feels like in your mouth. If it's a custard, does it feel heavy like a custard? If it's a drink, does it feel wet like a drink? If it's a cookie, does it have that texture of a cookie? It's all the things that Nacho was saying is not flavor, but is very important in your recipes,
right?
To have it represent what you're trying to make as best to the real thing as possible.
If you ask someone about something they are vaping and they tell you, okay, I get banana or strawberry, or what, once you have that information and you want to narrow which strawberry, which vanilla, which banana, all the other description is about mouthfeel.
Yeah.
How is the texture? How heavy it is? How sharp? How whatever.
Yeah, it's like this, everything else around it. Okay, what kind of a strawberry is it? Is it a juicy strawberry? Is it wet? Is it sticky? You know, is it, you know, gritty? Is it a gritty strawberry?
Okay, Max, what are you vaping right now?
It's a raspberry mango gummy.
How is the mouthfeel?
It's gummy. It's a little sticky. It's chewy. It's not quite full, if I'm gonna be honest. It's not exactly where I'd want it to be.
It's wispy?
It's a little wispy. You could tell it's got some chew to it, but it's not really full.
Yeah.
I'd say it's not full flavored. It's not dense.
Okay, but with that information, it's much easier for me to imagine what flavorings I can use to make something like that.
Yeah. Or correct all the problems that I'm telling you too.
Right.
Obviously, I'd want it to be more full. So that's actually making me understand where I need to go next with my next version.
So mouthfeel to you is a combination of different elements in the recipe other than the flavor.
Right.
But under kind of the broad term of mouthfeel, there's a lot of others like subcategories like texture, body, fullness, sharpness, roundness.
Yeah. All right. So what is weight?
When we talk about weight, we talk about how heavy it is, like a custard, like something with butter.
Yeah.
Like a very heavy ice cream or something like that.
The heaviness to me, it almost feels like it's coating the inside of my mouth. You know, it feels like there's some substance to the actual vape that's in my mouth.
Well, and the volume is more like marshmallows. It's more like when you have the flavor in the entire mouth. It's not just in your tongue.
If it's buttery, it's probably going to be heavy.
Right.
But if it's a whipped cream, it's going to be full.
Yeah. If it is not heavy, if it has no butter, nothing like custard or something like that, it's going to be light. It could be light and have volume, or it could be light and be very wispy and disappears really fast.
Right.
And what about texture?
If you think of like something like FA cookie, aside from the flavor of it, it's kind of grainy. It tastes a little bit, maybe overcooked. Like it has that kind of a texture to it. And then on like the opposite side, maybe you take something like strawberry gummy candy, which is maybe a little bit chewy, but it's mostly syrupy. It's sticky.
Texture to me is how the vape represents itself as is this a drink? Is this a gummy? Is this a cookie? Is this a milkshake?
Right.
To me, that's texture. Texture can be all of those.
Yeah, like gooey. Gooey could be both. Gooey could be almost like volume and stuff. I would say that that's still a textural thing.
Yeah.
A lot of these terms can describe both. That's why it's confusing to try to put them in a box, because you kind of can't. Some of them bleed over from one to another.
One that I really like to use to describe a liquid is how rounded or sharp is the flavor.
Mm-hmm.
For me, rounded is like when you use the classic vanilla swirl. There is no sharp edges in the way that you have with a very sharp lemon.
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about how to explain sharp edges. Like, oh, it tastes like razors. Like, I don't know. I don't know. It's not like that. It's like it's smooth. It's a little silky. Maybe you kind of I think there's times where you would want to desire one over the other, but it's trying to dial that in. I think that it's important to keep in mind like descriptions of the textures and the all of these things. You got to keep them all kind of in mind.
I think a good example of sharp edges or roundness would be the difference between Flavora sweetness and Cap Super Sweet. Cap Super Sweet being super edgy and sharp, and the other one being super rounded.
I never even thought about that, but of course I mean, sweeteners are kind of weird to talk about when you're talking about, but you're not talking about flavor. You're literally just talking about like it as an additive, as an enhancement, like how it's going to control the rest of the recipe.
There's several ways to adjust the roundness and the sharp edges. There's flavorings and additives out there that you can use depending on which way you want to go. If you've created something that feels a little sharp to you, and if it's a cream type profile, the perfect solution would be using something like TPA Vanilla Swirl. If you wanted to make something sharper, one of the easiest things to do, especially with fruits, is to add Capella Super Sweet, because there's a little bit of acetic acid in that Super Sweet that makes those edges even sharper.
On the other side, if you want to make something more wet, you can use FA pear, you can use Inawera cactus, for example.
Yeah.
Or you can use something like Cereal 27 or AP to make something more...
give it gritty.
More crunchy, yeah.
People may think, well, it doesn't matter what you call it, but it kind of does, because it's important when you create a recipe and you're trying to think of how to fix a certain aspect of this, you need to understand kind of those terms and what they stand for, so that when you do try to adjust flavorings in it, you know which type of flavoring to use. One that has texture, one that doesn't, one that can round your recipe out, one that can make it sharper.
And to learn. It's like when you learn anything, you need to speak the same language. You need to know when you watch Noted and they are talking about the flavoring, if they say, okay, this is really soft or it has a lot of volume, if you know what they mean, you know how to use it.
It's an easier way to process that information. So then you can dial it in and then actually refer to it, and then okay, then you think about like your own recipes, like, okay, maybe it's lacking here. This is how I can pump that up. Oh, there's a cool trick somebody talked about by using, Inawera cactus, and I'm gonna make this a little bit more wet, and then boom.
That's perfect. So all you have to do is speak well or fine. How do you say?
Speak good.
Speak flavor. Let me bust some flavor in your ear hole real quick. All right, that